Chicago at 6 starts now.
Now at 6, President Trump prepares to give his State of the Union address, and several local lawmakers say they're boycotting it. They explain why.
New developments in Mexico. Americans stuck there after the killing of a cartel leader sparked violence across the country. We are speaking with a local woman in Puerto Vallarta.
Plus, assault rifles allegedly pointed at children, a grandmother forced to stand outside without pants on. We have you covered on closing arguments over a wrongful police raid.
And taking a live look outside this morning, it's feeling frosty out there, and the wind will make it feel a lot worse. As we say good morning on this Tuesday morning, thank you for joining us. I'm Anthony Ponce.
And I'm Gabriela Primus. Let's get it to Mike for that updated forecast. Mike.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's going to be warmer, but the winds are going to be so strong. It's going to kind of eat into the apparent warm-up out there. It is cold now, though, despite the fact we are going to see a little bit of sunshine this morning and see a few gaps in the clouds there. Temperatures right now, we have quite a few spots in the teens. 18 at Aurora and Woodstock, 18 at Valparaiso, low 20s everywhere else, including 20 at O'Hare and 20 at Chicago's Lakefront. Today, we're going to max out in the low 40s with mostly cloudy skies. Winds will really start to ramp up here later this morning. Could see some winds gusting to 40 miles per hour. I'm sneaking a peek at that traffic map, and it still looks pretty good.
Mike, you know, our drive times, they're really not bad for this time of morning here at 6 o'clock on your Tuesday. We're still dealing with some issues, though, on Union Pacific Northwest, if you take that for your morning commute into the city. We had some earlier mechanical problems, so there might be still some trains that are expecting delays. So making sure you're checking your app and online for that. Other than that, no incidents in our system. 25 minutes on the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown, 25 on the Eisenhower. Under that on the Stevenson, around 20 minutes on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange.
All right. Thank you, Gabby. President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address tonight.
He's expected to highlight what he's calling strong economic growth amid concerns about high living costs and trade policies.
Watch the State of the Union. We're going to be talking about the economy. We inherited a mess, and now we have prices way down. We have energy way down.
The president is also expected to champion his immigration crackdowns, his slashing of the federal government, and push to preserve tariffs that the Supreme Court just struck down.
A number of Democratic lawmakers say that they are skipping the speech tonight, including Representatives Mike Quigley, Delia Ramirez, Jan Schakowsky, and Sean Casten. Casten explained his decision on Chicago Live.
You're in this lose-lose situation where either you're mistakenly understood to be giving the president respect he hasn't earned, or mistakenly understood to be disrespecting the office that's not there. So I just felt that it's better to watch from afar. We'll certainly pay attention.
Democratic Representative Chuy Garcia is expected to attend. He's bringing Marimar Martinez as his guest. She is the Chicago woman who survived being shot 5 times by Border Patrol agents in October.
Representative Bill Foster, who will also be attending tonight, talked about the importance of each guest on the Chicago Report.
I've also brought a guest with me who is on the front line, Suzanne Hoban, who's she's on the front lines of dealing with the health care crisis that President Trump has brought on so many families. And I think it's important that when he looks out at the audience, he doesn't see just a bunch of yes men from his party, but from people that are actually dealing with the crises that he's brought on American citizens.
You can watch the State of the Union address live right here on Fox Chicago. It starts at 8.
All right, and don't forget, our Chicago Report debates continue this week. Tonight at 6, right after the news at 5 o'clock, we have Republican candidates for governor squaring off. Ted Dabrowski, James Mendrick, Rick Heidner will all be joining our Paris Schutz. And again, if you want to submit any questions for Paris to ask the panel, you can submit those to parisonpolitics@fox.com. All right, the city of Harvey has selected an acting mayor. The city council voted last night in favor of Alderwoman Shirley Drewinski. Drewinski had been serving as mayor pro tem since the unexpected passing of former mayor Christopher Clark.
Thank you very much. Thank you. As you can tell, for those of you who know me, I was very, very nervous. So I am honored. I'm truly, truly honored. Thank you. And council, thank you very much. I pledge to work with each and every one of you, and hopefully we can actually have a decent conversation and work together and keep the communication flowing. So I thank you very much.
All right, that appointment comes as the city works to crawl out of a financial crisis and deal with a debt worth about $160 million.
All right, talking about things that are happening across our southern border. American tourists are still stranded in parts of Mexico this morning.
The Mexican military is battling with the cartel after killing the notorious drug lord El Mencho. Brian Jackson here in studio with the very latest. Brian?
Authorities in Mexico appear to have restored order in several cities, but the U.S. Embassy in Mexico is telling Americans in 15 states there to continue to stay indoors and to shelter in place. This all comes after cartel leader El Mencho died in a shootout during the military operation, setting off violence across the country. At least 73 people, including 25 members of the Mexican National Guard, are all dead. The White House confirms that the U.S. did provide intelligence to support that operation. Former DEA agent Michael Gannon says the impacts of his killing are unpredictable.
Anybody that is traveling and goes to Mexico at different times, you look at the State Department and you see where there may be issues, and you pay really keen attention to that. And even right now, if you're there, certainly laying low for while this violence is going on.
We spoke with an American sheltering in place. Lincolnwood resident Susan Swift has owned a condo in Puerto Vallarta for over a decade.
People were not being targeted. It was very specific to businesses, cars, buses, government, kind of anything that would make a statement to the government. In fact, there were lots of stories about people saying that, they were basically approached, asked to get out of their cars and run, and then their cars were set on fire. Not that that's not frightening, but it was very clear here where we are in Puerto Vallarta that nobody was looking to target people.
The embassy says it is in contact with airlines about flight disruptions in Puerto Vallarta, but most other airports in Mexico are now back to their normal operations.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian, for that report. Today, closing arguments are scheduled to begin in a trial over a wrongful raid in Chicago. It happened in 2018. According to court documents, Chicago police swarmed the wrong apartment in the back of the Yards neighborhood, pointing assault rifles at children and forcing their grandmother to stand outside without pants on. The family sued the city and police officers involved. We'll have you covered later on this morning, live from the courthouse when the case picks up.
Chicago police say someone is using a dating app to rob people in the Woodlawn neighborhood. There have been 4 reports of this happening, all of them in the 6600 block of South Blackstone Avenue. The first happened February 5th, and the most recent was just yesterday. Just before noon is when it happened. Police say a man is using dating apps to connect with his victims. Police say once he gets them to meet in person, he pulls a gun and robs them.
Parts of the Northeast are waking up buried in snow. I mean, we're talking about record snowfall here, people. I don't know if you saw some videos, pictures you watched just yesterday. Some of the hardest hit areas are in New York and New Jersey. The heavy snow combined with high winds of up to 60 miles per hour left more than 600,000 people without power.
Blizzard of 26 has now officially surpassed the blizzard of 78 for the most snow ever recorded in a single snowstorm in our Rhode Island state history.
Thousands of people were left stranded at airports as more than 10,000 flights were canceled nationwide. Mike, my goodness, we were thinking of just how bad this was going to be. There were some warnings, but it did truly turn out just as bad as they said it would.
It definitely did. It was a full-on blizzard, and some people are confused as to what a blizzard is. They think, it must be like at least a foot of snow. It has more to do with the visibility. You need to have snow falling, gusty winds, and a reduction of visibility for a period of time, and they definitely had that. At times it was snowing 3 inches per hour with 60-mile-per-hour winds. Oh, my gosh. They can have it, but, it's all going to melt. It's all going to go away. Here, we have a cold morning. Temperatures 20 at O'Hare and Waukegan, 18 in Sugar Grove, 19 in Morris and Merrillville. Along Chicago's lakefront, it is 21. And there's still a little bit of wind out there early this morning, not strong. Later this morning, those winds are going to crank up. We're looking at speeds generally, 5-6 miles per hour. But coupled with the cold temperatures, this is what it feels like. We have a few spots with single-digit wind chills, including Merrillville, Chicago Heights, Waukegan, and it's not much better anywhere in Chicagoland. So it's a legit cold morning. with winds that will be picking up. This is the wind gust, kind of the max sustained, not sustained speeds, but the instantaneous winds, maybe in that 35 to 40 mile an hour range for several hours, I think from late morning into the mid-afternoon hours. Once we get to tonight, the winds will be beginning to shift from south to northwest, and while it'll still be blustery out there, it will not be as windy tonight as it will be this afternoon. So just notice that what will happen with that northwest wind shift, that's going to blow in colder air for tomorrow. But I am stressing the overall warm pattern continuing into March. Back to you both.
Thank you, Mike. All right, we're live in Washington, D.C. as the president prepares for a State of the Union address. We break down the big topics he's expected to talk about coming up next.
Welcome back. Time now 6:13. Here's a look at some of the top stories we're following.
New surveillance photos from Nancy Guthrie's home appear to show a suspect taken the day before she was believed to have been abducted. But the Pima County Sheriff's Office is dispelling that, saying any timestamp on the photos were not provided. It has been nearly a month since the 84-year-old disappeared.
President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address tonight. He is expected to highlight what he is calling strong economic growth, along with his immigration crackdowns, slashing of the federal government, and push to preserve the tariffs that the Supreme Court just struck down.
The city of Harvey has selected an acting mayor. The city council voted last night in favor of Alderwoman Shirley Drewinski. Drewinski had been serving as mayor pro tem since the unexpected passing of former mayor Christopher Clark.
This morning, we are getting a picture of how families feel about the state of education in Illinois. The bipartisan survey from the Illinois Education Association tackles everything from teacher pay to school funding. And for the first time in the history of the survey, they asked people how worried they were about ICE arresting them, a child, another parent, or school employee on school property, and 57% responded that they were indeed worried.
This was a concern raised by school teachers in Illinois about what is happening at public schools in Illinois.
In the city of Chicago, a lot of this activity did revolve around the schools. So we thought this was a very important question to ask.
Just this increase that we're seeing across the nation of using schools as a place to target, it deeply concerns me.
Some of the other key findings, 53% of respondents felt that teachers are paid too little, and among public school parents, it was 60% when it comes to public school funding.
A bill designed to lure the Chicago Bears over the Indiana state line is another step closer to the governor's desk. The measure creates the financial structure to build a stadium in the Hoosier state. During a Monday hearing, the House voted to push it forward with an amendment that names Hammond as the official stadium site. The bill now goes to the full House for a vote. Meanwhile, yesterday we told you about possible plans for Soldier Field if the Bears decide to leave. An exclusive report from our own Paris Schutz breaks down officials' vision to turn it into a concert and special events venue. You can find that full report now on Fox Local. All right, FedEx is suing the Trump administration over alleged financial harm imposed by the president's tariff policies. The lawsuit is asking the administration to refund all payments made under the policy. This marks one of the first major lawsuits regarding tariff reimbursements since the Supreme Court ruling on Friday.
The European Union is also reacting to the tariff decision, postponing 2 votes on a U.S. trade agreement. EU lawmakers cited uncertainty under the new policy in its decision here. The European Parliament's Trade Committee plans to vote today to remove duties on U.S. industrial goods, which is a key part of that deal. And President Trump will likely touch on tariffs during his State of the Union address tonight.
Maybe that and a lot more. Doug Luzader joins us live from Washington, D.C. with what we expect from the president and his Democratic opposition. Doug, what do we think will be the focus of the speech tonight?
Well, there's not really generally a focus for these things. I mean, it's just kind of a hodgepodge of items generally in a State of the Union address. The president has only told us 2 things about this speech. One, that it's going to be long, and by Trump standards, that means it's a very long speech. The other is that he's going to touch on the economy, and this kind of sets the table for the midterm elections. But he's going to have to deal with some foreign policy as well. He'll no doubt talk about Iran and the big military buildup there that could lead to military action while talks continue. So it's going to be a whole mix of things, kind of looking back at the first year of this second Trump term and then looking ahead to what's going to come next.
A lot of the focus in the wake of these speeches is on optics, okay? Any hijinks that happen from the people sitting in the audience. We have reported that a number of our local Illinois lawmakers, Doug, are not even planning on attending. Is that unusual, and what do you expect to emerge in terms of that optical dynamic after the speech, during and after the speech?
Yeah, well, there is the organized Democratic response, which is going to be delivered by Virginia governor, the new governor of Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, who's seen as kind of a rising star within the party. But then beyond that, there's going to be what they're calling a People's State of the Union, which is going to be a gathering on the National Mall, not far from the Capitol here. And there are going to be a number of lawmakers, maybe 24 or so. We don't have the exact number at this point that are going to skip the State of the Union address to attend that. It's tough to say whether we're going to actually see disruptions during the speech. We saw that last year. Democratic leadership has urged membership not to do that, but you never know. I mean, these things can get pretty heated.
Doug, we been talking, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday, about some of the security measures that will be in place. Obviously, everyone who's important kind of in our country is pretty much going to be there. So obviously they're going to have good security. Are they ramping up any more than they typically would because of some of these incidents we saw at Mar-a-Lago, over at the White House recently as well?
Yeah, look, we had that event at that individual in Mar-a-Lago, as you mentioned. Last week, there was also an individual who was arrested here near the Capitol with a gun. So I would imagine that they're looking at those kinds of potential threats. Security is always very, very tight for these things, and tonight's going to be no different. We expect there's going to be, the designated survivor among cabinet members. We don't know which cabinet member that's going to be, but and the other question is how many Supreme Court justices are going to attend this speech tonight, especially because the president is very likely to point them out and criticize them in the wake of that tariff decision last week.
That would indeed not be surprising. Doug Luzader in Washington for us. Thank you very much for the update, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, it's 6:19 back here in Chicago. Let's get a check of this weather situation. Warmer but windier today, huh?
The two W's, that's right. Yeah, warmer and windier. We'll get into the 40s, but maybe gusting to 40 miles per hour. Out there right now, it's not that windy, but it is cold. I want to show you the map, though, where there are weather alerts. We had a reporter on a little while ago from the Northeast, and we've been talking about some additional weather headed their way. Whatever snow they get is going to be nothing compared with what they got Sunday and Monday, but there are some winter weather advisories in parts of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and upstate New York. There's a cold weather advisory for much of Florida. Of course, their criteria for what warrants a cold weather advisory, a little bit different from what we have here. And then to our north, some lake effect snow causing problems off of Lake Superior, anywhere from the Minnesota Arrowhead into the Yup. Here, no such worries, but it's cold out there right now. Temperature's not far from 20 anywhere. 22 at Joliet appears to be the hot spot. 21 at Gary, only 19 at Woodstock today. We're going to max out at 42. It's a bump from where we've been for the past few days. That'll feel good. But that southwest wind, 16 to 32 with some gusts to 40, may get your attention. Small chance of a sprinkle this evening, and then it's going to be dry. Late tonight and tomorrow, a little cooler. 35 for the high, but it'll be sunny. Thursday, been hearing about a possible snowstorm. It is looking less and less and less and less likely to impact Chicagoland. Downstate, they could have a sticking snow here. Maybe something as far north as the Kankakee River Valley. I'm just not super impressed with that. I am impressed with a 50-degree day on Friday with plenty of sunshine. That looks like the best day of the week. All right, looks like Sky Fox is flying, and traffic looks to be moving pretty well.
Yeah, Mike, we have Sky Fox over the Kennedy Expressway. We have no incidents to report here, and it looks like, traffic is moving okay here just before 6:30. Let's take a look at some of those drive times for you as we get closer to that 6:30 mark. 25 minutes on the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown, around 25 minutes on the Eisenhower as well. Close to that on the Stevenson, around 20 minutes on the Dan Ryan. We are following a crash over on the northbound side of Route 83. It's near Westmoreland Drive. It's in Long Grove. Just expect heavy delays due to the crash in that area.
All right, Gabby, thank you very much. Well, apparently more smart people want dumb homes. That is what realtors are saying. Their advice for home buyers and sellers right after the break.
can't trust.
Welcome back. If you've ever had to park in downtown Chicago, you've probably used it. Uber is buying the parking app SpotHero. Cranes reports that SpotHero will remain based in Chicago and operate as a standalone unit within Uber. The specific terms of the deal still under wraps. However, Uber says it plans to offer a parking reservation experience powered by SpotHero within its own app. SpotHero was founded back in 2011 right here in Chicago, and since then it's grown to around 250 employees.
Gary is tearing down about 60 abandoned houses this month. City officials say this is about safety and cleaning up problem spots. Crews and volunteers are working in downtown, Emerson, Glen Park, Midtown, and West Side. The city has $20 million for this so-called blight blitz. The mayor says their efforts won't end here.
Too long, these abandoned properties have been a drain in our community. They're safety hazards for our children walking to school. They pull down property values for our hardworking homeowners, and they stand in the way of progress. And today, we're clearing that out, and we're setting the tone.
Mayor Melton says demolition is just step one. Cleared lots could become new homes or businesses, but he says it's a long process.
More people are starting to unplug from their smart homes. Here we go. In the last 5 years, we've apparently seen a big boom in technology that can control everything in the house, from lights to thermostats and fans. Now, realtors say they're seeing a demand from people who want less technology in their homes, not more, because this is about practicality, apparently. Julie Provenzano is a real estate broker down in Dallas. She joined us on Chicago Live and says a simple outage can really affect your quality of life.
It can backfire because it's another thing that can potentially break. And so if we're constantly having to call a contractor or a tech company to fix something for something that's really a simple function in our home, that's problematic. There have been times also where I've had clients move into homes, and in the old days, you could take a little bit of time to get your Wi-Fi set up, and now it's one of the first things you have to do because our entire homes run off of Wi-Fi. Take irrigation, for example. So many of these irrigation systems run off of these apps, and if you're not connected, then your grass and flower beds are not getting what they need.
Makes sense. The internet, imagine an internet outage. You can't turn down your heat or turn up the it would
Nightmare.
Complicate things. Yeah, with the rate of our technology evolving, it can also come back to bite you. She says you could actually cost you money when selling your home as well if it's too plugged in.
You're going to have to share all that info, get it set up between the two.
Mike, I've kind of noticed there's a what's old is new again trend in a lot of areas recently.
And that is the case, but I'm a huge fan of the tech in the house. I like having a little app on the phone where we can turn on like a certain light, have it change the color for a
I like it too. Just I hope your internet doesn't go out. That's all I'm saying.
If it goes out, it goes out for a couple minutes. It comes back on. It's all going to be good. All right. Hopefully your heat is on this morning because it is cold out there. But we do have some milder temperatures on the way, especially Friday. I'll show you that 7-day forecast in just a couple minutes.
All right, look at that view.
So pretty.
Mike, we're in postcard territory there.
That's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. And the sun's coming up earlier, and notice, you can tell where the sun is going to rise from that shot.
North of the Adler Planetarium?
It's going to come up right there. So we moved it north of the planetarium. I'm still waiting to collect on that toast that Anthony. Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. No rush on that one. All right, let's talk about today. We have cold temperatures to start, but we are going to have a milder finish. I think high temperatures today will land somewhere in the low, maybe even mid-40s in a few spots. I'll go for 42 for the official high today. You see a sprinkle showing up there around Waukegan. That could be very late this afternoon as a cold front moves in. I'm just not overly impressed with much in terms of precipitation today, and I'm not impressed with that much on Thursday either, but I'll put up a 30% chance, meaning part of the area could get hit with a little bit of snow, especially south. Big warm up on Friday. Temperatures get colder, though, Sunday and Monday, with another chance for some light snow Sunday night into Monday. I see a missing right front fender on a car that is pointed the wrong way.
Yeah, Mike, this isn't a very good situation here. So this is the inbound side of the Dan Ryan. I'm figuring out where this is. It is on the inbound side, and this is going to be the ramp that'll take you over to Ida B. Wells and on the Eisenhower. And it looks like, yeah, that person hit the median there, probably tried to make a late turn or get back onto the expressway or get into the merging lanes there. But be aware of this. Obviously, it looks like they're blocking a left lane just as you're passing, that exit to take you over to Ida B. Wells or the Eisenhower. We'll keep you updated on this, but obviously it's going to slow down your drive times right now. Let's take a look at it as of this moment. It's around 25 minutes from on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn interchange. Again, this is happening just before the Burn interchange. 30 minutes on the Stevenson, 35 minutes on the Eisenhower, around 35 minutes on the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown. Anthony.
Thank you, Gabby. American tourists in Mexico, they're stranded, some of them, after the killing of Mexican cartel leader El Mencho.
Saquon joins us live with more details. Good morning, Say.
Hey, good morning to you. The killing of El Mencho has sparked a wave of chaos and violence in parts of Mexico. And as you mentioned, Americans who are there right now have nowhere to go after the U.S. Embassy announced a shelter-in-place order for primarily the western parts of Mexico. That does include beach towns like Puerto Vallarta. Now, El Mencho has led the most powerful and violent drug trafficking organizations in the world. Federal prosecutors have accused that cartel of trafficking massive amounts of drugs into the U.S., including the Midwest. Following the news of his death, cartel members reportedly became violent in several parts of Mexico. They were seen setting local businesses and cars on fire and setting up blockades in cities like Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara. We spoke with a former DEA agent who tells us when a cartel leader is killed, it often triggers internal power struggles or retaliation against rivals and government targets.
They have members dispatched all over the country to receive various shipments of fentanyl, methamphetamine, and even cocaine. So it is going to affect people, no question about it. And whoever thinks they're in a line to step up is going to do everything they can to try to make that happen and be the next head of CJNG.
For cities like Chicago, this could mean shifts in the drug supply chain, turf conflicts, or short-term spikes in violence as other groups try to compete for control. Most flights to and from the western parts of Mexico have either been delayed or canceled during this unrest. Now, officials with the Mexican embassy also say they are seeing a lot of false information being spread on social media right now, and they are urging people to make sure they are verifying that sort of information before they share it. Meanwhile, we know authorities say they are monitoring for possible retaliation and, of course, looking for broader impacts on both sides of the border. Back to you.
Okay, Say, thank you for that update. We have more Good Day Chicago up next, so stay with us.
6.
Welcome back, 6:37 on your Tuesday morning. President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address tonight.
He's expected to highlight what he's calling strong economic growth, but this is amid concerns about high living costs and trade policies.
Watch the State of the Union. We're going to be talking about the economy. We inherited a mess, and now we have prices way down. We have energy way down.
The president is also expected to champion his immigration crackdowns, his slashing of the federal government, and push to preserve tariffs that the Supreme Court just struck down.
A number of Democratic lawmakers, though, say they are skipping the speech tonight, including Illinois Representatives Mike Quigley, Delia Ramirez, Jan Schakowsky, and Sean Casten. And Casten explained his decision not to attend on Chicago Live.
You're in this lose-lose situation where either you're mistakenly understood to be giving the president respect he hasn't earned, or mistakenly understood to be disrespecting the office that's not there. So I just felt that it's better to watch from afar. We'll certainly pay attention.
Democratic Representative Chuy Garcia is expected to attend. He's bringing Marimar Martinez as his guest. Martinez is the Chicago woman who survived being shot 5 times by Border Patrol agents in October. You can watch the State of the Union address live right here on Fox Chicago. It starts at 8.
All right, scary situation for anyone using dating apps. We're going to, after this break, tell you about a warning from Chicago police. Stay with us. Welcome back, 6:42, and here's a look at some of the top stories we are following for you.
Yeah, starting with new surveillance photos from Nancy Guthrie's home appear to show a suspect taken the day before she was believed to have been abducted, but the Pima County Sheriff's Office is dispelling that, saying any timestamp on the photos were actually not provided. It has been nearly a month since the 84-year-old disappeared.
Authorities in Mexico appear to have restored order in several cities, but the U.S. Embassy in Mexico is still telling Americans in 15 different Mexican states to continue to stay indoors and shelter in place. This comes after cartel leader El Mencho died in a shootout during a military operation, setting off violence across the country. At least 73 people, including 25 members of the Mexican National Guard, are dead.
The city of Harvey has selected an acting mayor. The city council voted last night in favor of Alderwoman Shirley Drewinski. Drewinski had been serving as mayor pro tem since the unexpected passing of former mayor Christopher Clark. Today, closing arguments are scheduled to begin in a trial over a wrongful raid in Chicago. It happened in 2018. According to court documents, Chicago police swarmed the wrong apartment in the back of the Yards neighborhood, pointing assault rifles at children and forcing their grandmother to stand outside without pants on. The family sued the city and police officers involved. We'll have you covered live from the courthouse when the case picks up later on this morning.
Chicago police say someone is using a dating app to rob people in the Woodlawn neighborhood. There have been 4 reports of this happening, all of them in the 6600 block of South Blackstone Avenue. The first one happened February 5th, with the most recent one happening just yesterday before noon. Police say a man is using dating apps to connect with victims. Police say once he gets them to meet him in person, he pulls out a gun and robs them.
Scary.
Yeah, absolutely. Meantime, Uber is buying another company. It's a local company, and it could change the parking game here in Chicago. We will tell you why next.
In every
Local Chicago.
Welcome back. If you've ever had to park in downtown Chicago, you probably use this app. Uber is buying the parking app SpotHero. Cranes reports that SpotHero will remain based in Chicago. It'll operate as a standalone unit within the Uber app. The specific terms of the deal are under wraps, but Uber says it plans to offer a parking reservation experience powered by SpotHero within its own app. SpotHero was founded in 2011 right here in Chicago, and since then, it has grown to a company of about 250 employees.
Gary's tearing down about 60 abandoned houses this month. City officials say this is about safety and cleaning up problem spots. Crews and volunteers are working in downtown, Emerson, Glen Park, Midtown, and West Side. The city has $20 million for this so-called blight blitz. The mayor says their efforts won't end here.
Too long, these abandoned properties have been a drain in our community. They're safety hazards for our children walking to school. They pull down property values for our hardworking homeowners, and they stand in the way of progress. And today, we're clearing that out and we're setting the tone.
Mayor Melton says demolition is just step one. Cleared lots could become new homes or businesses, but he says it's a long process.
More people are starting to unplug from their smart homes. In the last 5 years, apparently there's been a big boom in technology that can control everything in the house, from lights to thermostats. And now realtors say that they're seeing a demand from people who want less of that in their homes instead of more. And this trend here is apparently just about practicality here. Julie Provenzano is a real estate broker down in Dallas, and she joined us on Chicago Live and says a simple internet outage can really have a trickle-down effect.
It can backfire because it's another thing that can potentially break. And so if we're constantly having to call a contractor or a tech company to fix something for something that's really a simple function in our home, that's problematic. There have been times also where I've had clients move into homes, and in the old days, you could take a little bit of time to get your Wi-Fi set up, and now it's one of the first things you have to do because our entire homes run off of Wi-Fi. Take irrigation, for example. So many of these irrigation systems run off of these apps, and if you're not connected, then your grass and flower beds are not getting what they need.
Yikes, yes. With the rate our technology is evolving, it can also come back to bite you. She says it could actually cost more money when selling your home if it's too wired and too smart. Yeah. All right, 6:49. More Good Day Chicago is ahead for us. Mike Kaplan has got your forecast when we come back.
27th.
Okay, we are at now 7 minutes until 7 o'clock on your Tuesday morning. So take a look at a warmer but windier city of Chicago today.
Good way to put it.
Yeah, Mike Kaplan, how are we doing outside today, sir?
You know, it's a cold start with temperatures not far from 20 either way and just enough wind to be putting the wind chill in the single digits in a few spots. We'll see some sunshine today, but I think on the whole, it ends up looking mostly cloudy. And as a cold front punches in here late afternoon and the early evening hours, it'll get cloudier. And there could be a sprinkle coming out of that, but it's not a big deal precip-wise. These are the current numbers: 21 at Midway and the Lakefront, 19 at Woodstock, 18 at Valparaiso, and in Morris, there in the heart of Grundy County, you're looking at 20 degrees. Not a lot of wind out there yet, but enough to produce wind chills in many places in the single digits. Feels like 8 in Merrillville and Rensselaer and Woodstock, DeKalb, Aurora, and also Rockford, a pretty popular wind chill. Nobody much warmer than that. Today, though, we do hit 42. That's the good news. The bad news is that the southwest wind, so blustery out there, especially late morning and early this afternoon. It's going to be tough to get out there and enjoy that 42 because it's going to feel colder with the gusty wind. There might be about a 2-hour or so period of time where some sprinkles cross the area. I would say anywhere between about 4:30 and 7 for that. No big deal precip-wise. Tomorrow, not as warm, but it won't be as windy, and it'll be sunnier with a high of 35 degrees. This Thursday storm system is looking lamer and lamer in the Chicago area. Farther south, there may be a sticking snow. I'll still keep a chance for some snow in there well south of the city. It's not much. Big warm-up Friday up to 55 degrees. Still fairly pleasant Saturday. Then we have another punch of Canadian air here. Sunday and Monday may be accompanied by some light snow showers Sunday night into Monday. Almost 6:55, and we've had, one car that's pointed the wrong way. What's the latest on that one, Gabrielle?
You got that right, Mike. And I do have some more details. This is the inbound side of the Dan Ryan. It's just before the Byrne interchange. So obviously this only vehicle involved, single vehicle crash into the barrier at the start of the Byrne interchange here. And it's blocking a left lane on the inbound side of the Dan Ryan, or right lane, on the inbound side of the Dan Ryan. It's closer to Polk Street, I guess, right before you head over to the Byrne interchange. So that minivan is sideways and it's immovable so far. IDOT just came on scene. You see that big yellow greenish truck there. They're going to be helping out these folks so we can get this cleared up. Right now it's around 40 minutes on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne interchange. So it is a little extra heavy because this is a very important time of morning. A lot of people heading on the roads here. Traffic starts around Pershing, that really bad stop and go until you cross the Byrne interchange line there. All right, 7 o'clock hour of Good Day Chicago starts next. Keep it right here.
Welcome back. Today marks 4 years since Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
The Center for Strategic and International Studies estimates 1.8 million soldiers on both sides have died. The U.S. is trying to get Ukraine and Russia to negotiate on ways to end the war. President Trump has set a June deadline for a peace deal.
Hollywood is mourning the death of actor Robert Carradine. His family says he passed away following a years-long battle with bipolar disorder. Carradine was best known for his role as Lewis in Revenge of the Nerds and as the